Hello, I'm Matt Galloway, and this is The Current Podcast.
Hi, sorry to bother you. I'm a recruiter. My name is Amy. We have a lot of high-paying job vacancies. If you are interested, you can add us on WhatsApp.
Hello, I'm Matthew, an HR representative. Are you interested in discussing part-time job opportunities?
Hi, sorry to bother you. I'm a recruiter. My name is Janice. Are you interested in accepting a flexible role? If yes, please respond to this message.
If you have a mobile phone, chances are you've received at least one of these kinds of job offers. Many people just block the number, hit delete, move on. But have you ever wondered, what happens if I responded? What happens if I sent a note back to this person? Alex Boyd did. Toronto Star reporter answered not just one, but several job offers she got over text. Alex, good morning.
Good morning.
I got one of these messages yesterday from Emily, who says she has a work from home opportunity for me. Am I open to discuss it? You know, part of you is like, what kind of offer is that? What is the opportunity? Why did you actually want to respond to this offer?
You know what? I got to say, a lot of it was just pure curiosity. I mean, I, like what feels like everyone in the country right now, was getting bombarded by these things. Mm-hmm. The first one I kind of deleted. The second one I thought, oh, weird. Another one. The third one was strange. By the fourth one, I was like, where are these coming from?
You knew it was a story.
Right. Yeah. My journalist, alert went off a little bit. But I just was curious. I don't know that anyone, scammers included, do anything if there's not some sort of incentive, some sort of payoff. And I genuinely didn't understand, what do they want from me? What is the point here? What are they getting out of it? And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to respond and see what happens.
So what happened? When you responded to whoever it was, Emily, Amy, what happened?
So the first thing that happens is they're very excited to hear from you, and then they switch you over to WhatsApp. WhatsApp tends to be the platform of choice for these scammers because it's encrypted, and there's lots of benefits to encryption. But obviously, if you're up to no good, it also helps you hide your tracks a little bit. From there, that first message is just trying to decide if this is a number that belongs to someone who's willing to respond, if someone who is open to doing this might be a little bit receptive to this scam. And then from there on out, it turns into what is, I think, a classic cryptocurrency scam. They walk you through it. They answer all your questions. They're very happy to hear from you and give you all this information. And then you're set up with what feels like a little job. And so the cybersecurity experts that I spoke to, explained this as a pretty classic scam. So typically you're set up to rate something, to do some sort of work on a website. I was set up to rate albums. I was giving music albums 5-star ratings. But from there, they start trying to get some money out of you. So
what's the scam here? I mean, and I suppose, who are the people who are trying to reach me to lure me into this? Who is Emily on the other end of this line?
Yeah. That part is unclear. So, I would try to have little conversations with these scammers to try to figure out, can I get more information from these people? Can I figure out who they are really? And it's not super clear. There were times where it felt like AI. There were times where it felt like the person behind the messages would shift in tone or would change a little bit. And I'd wonder if maybe it was a different person. But the experts I spoke to really opened my eyes up to the fact that, there are sometimes cases where, human trafficking is associated with these sorts of scams. So the people behind these scams, they might be in an exploitative situation themselves. They might be working under conditions, that aren't particularly positive. So in some ways it can be, a scam on both sides of the aisle.
So you get a job. The job is to rate and review music. What's the scam part of that?
So there are all these kind of little psychological nudges that they use to keep you going. So they answer all your questions. They get buy-in from you. They're constantly asking you, hey, do you have any questions? Can I tell you something else? Can we keep going? And I would play along and I would say yes. You get into your job. They work you through training. They explain how this works, generally speaking. And I do want to, put, giant air quotes around all of this. They work very hard to make this look like a real job, though I don't want to suggest suggest that this was, a real thing. But I would get to work, I would get assigned tasks, and each task would see a music album pop up. I would give it a 5-star rating, and I'd get a little bit of cryptocurrency for that. So I had a running total for how much money I was making. That's another psychological nudge, kind of you're getting a little bit of money each time. But then you hit a wall because for reasons that are, complicated and frankly part of the scam, you also are expected to pay a little bit to do each of those tasks. And initially they say to you, you know what? You're in training, you're good, we're going to give you the initial money to do this. And so they set you up with a little wallet, and you're also paying a little amount of money to engage in these tasks. But there comes a point where you hit a wall and you have to pay more money than you have to keep going. And so one day I opened my app and I started doing my tasks, and I hit a point where I was like, oh, I don't have enough money to keep going. And that was the point where my coach said, hey, if you want to keep going, you're going to have to put a little bit more of your own money into this. And they assure you, put your own money in. And once you do that, you'll be able to keep going. You'll be able to withdraw it. And you'll be able to withdraw all of the money that you're making. And so that's the point there where they're trying to give you a little bit of your own money. And of course, it's cryptocurrency. It's very hard to trace. Once it's gone, it's typically gone for good, which sounds really obvious when I explain it like this, but it was a real eye-opener into all the little ways they work very hard to keep you on the hook.
How did the job, such as it was, how did that end for you?
So I got to the point where I would have had to keep giving them money to keep going. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting was I started asking questions at this point. And I'm sure there are people listening saying, well, of course it's a scam. Of course this makes no sense. But they kind of lure you into thinking that there is an inherent logic here. You're supposed to do your little tasks, so you're going to get your money. But I as a pretend job seeker and as a journalist, I was trying to, find the holes in the logic here. Why is the amount of money I'm getting so random? How come I don't know, how much each task is going to cost me?
Why are you being asked to pay money to get paid?
Exactly, right. And so all of a sudden, my coach, who'd been very nice to me and very, welcoming and accommodating, her tone shifted a little bit. And she started getting, for lack of a better word, a little bit mean. And she kept saying, how do you not understand this by now? Why are you still asking these questions? And at one point, she even said, if you're not understanding this, I don't know if this job is right for you. And all of a sudden, I found myself kind of on the back foot and trying to placate her and say, I'm just genuinely trying to understand. And I remember sitting on my couch kind of being like, gosh, what is everyone understanding about this that I don't, which sounds silly, but I felt a little bit stupid. And that was the point where I was like, that's a red flag. And so I reached out to a cybersecurity at Adrienne Bergeron. She works for Go Secure. She studies the psychology of scams. And I said, is this the point? Are they trying to make me feel a little bit stupid? And she said, yeah, that is one of the psychological tricks that they use. They try to get you flustered. They try to get you a little bit upset. They try to get you to act without thinking. And that was the first time, because I'd been kind of, playing along up until that point. And that was the point where I felt like they'd managed to elicit a bit of an emotional reaction for me that I didn't anticipate and didn't initially recognize. And so that was kind of one of the wake-up calls in terms of how kind of insidious this stuff can be.
We just have a minute or so left. In doing this and in speaking with cybersecurity experts, do we have a sense as to how many people are falling for scams like this? I mean, they wouldn't be doing them if they weren't. You're not going to be fishing if you're not catching fish.
Hugely. I mean, I think it's really seductive to think that you're too smart for this, or that it's only older people or people who don't really understand the internet that fall for these kinds of things. But the amount of money that was scammed out of Canadians in 2022 was like $7 million. And then last year, that more than quadrupled to like $30 million. So this is very much working for people. It's very much targeting people's vulnerabilities. I don't think it's a surprise that right now they're targeting, economic security and promising jobs to people. At a time when affordability is such a huge issue, people are really struggling. One of the experts put it to me by saying, it's not that people, don't understand the internet, but most people who fall for these things are vulnerable in some way, whether it's a romance scam, whether it's, falling for a cheap, set of skis that they wanted to buy. And right now people are feeling really economically anxious. And the number of people who are falling for this is only going up.
Alex, thank you very much for this.
Thanks for having me.
Alex Boyd is a reporter with the Toronto Star.